Well, I'm glad to have a chance to say this, clear my good name, because, I mean, obviously I'm not anti-gold. I'm not a gold bear, such. On the other hand, I want to be a rational market participant. I don't want to be religious. I'm not here to save the world with a new gold standard. I'm here to make money as an investor. And we can go as deep down this rabbit hole as you want, but the simple version is that the apparent victory of Team Soft Landing is not good for gold. I mean, safe haven demand is part of what it's at. But you've also got, high interest rates, and the Fed is promising higher for longer without causing a recession, apparently. Now, I don't think it'll stay this way. But for right now, while that lasts, we've got decades of numbers that tell us this is bearish for gold.
Renowned precious metals analyst and editor of the Independent Speculator, Lobo Tiggre, is predicting downside moves for gold, silver, and other safe haven precious metals in the near term. Lobo's unique prediction is coming at a time when almost every other analyst and prominent stacker is making big predictions for gold and silver. Most of these predictions are centered around the BRICS de-dollarization agenda and the effects it would have on gold and other precious metals. But Lobo is taking a different approach to the precious metals market. According to the renowned analyst, it is important to identify certain macro factors and how they will impact investors' psychology in the coming months. One of the factors that Lobo is particularly focused on is the possibility of a soft landing for the United States economy. Since the U.S. Federal Reserve started raising rates, there have been lots of talks about an impending recession. Though we did see 2 quarters of negative GDP growth last year, it was waved off by policymakers who continue to insist that the economy is strong and thriving. Whatever is happening behind the scene notwithstanding, it is the official narrative that will dictate how investors behave and how their behavior will impact prices. According to Lobo, as long as the official narration that the Fed will be able to pull off a soft landing remains popular, the prices of gold, silver, and other safe haven assets will remain down. However, Lobo does not believe the official narration will remain popular for much longer. Instead, he believes before the end of the year, we will begin to see more obvious signs of a severe economic decline. This will put a definite end to all talks of a soft landing and send investors running towards safe haven assets. Lobo is certain that it is when this second shoe, the regional banking crisis being the first, drops that things will begin to get really interesting for gold, silver, and other precious metals. Lobo discusses his predictions for gold, silver, uranium, and other precious metals while speaking to Kitco News at the Rule Symposium Natural Resource Investing 2023, which recently took place in Boca Raton, Florida. We will now bring you important highlights from the discussion, but before we do, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos. Also, ensure you drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Thanks and enjoy the video.
Well, I'm famous for not wanting to make predictions, right? I don't have a future-seeing crystal ball. But if I'm going to say something like this, I feel, I do need to quantify it a bit. So I'm actually talking pretty short term, like the next couple months. I think that Team Soft Landing is wrong. I'm not saying that they're actually right. That's why I say the apparent victory of Team Soft Landing. And so there's sort of 2 pathways here. One would be they're just sort of garden variety wrong. Things aren't as rosy as it seems, and they start falling apart over the months and quarters ahead. In which case, it could be that the bears on Wall Street are right, and the recession has been pushed off to 2024, maybe even late 2024. I see that as a worst case scenario. I actually think that the Fed will be forced to pivot much sooner this year. I think we'll see not the recession happen. I think we're actually in a recession, and it's been masked by post-COVID lockdown market distortions, like the labor hoarding. These kinds of practices make the labor market particularly, but the general economy look to be in better shape than it really is. Even while we have mass layoffs and closures, and you look at the outlook from the Wall Street earnings season and so on, never mind the leading economic indicators, the yield curve, federal income, revenue from taxes, all of these things that have decades of correlation with recessions are flashing, red lights, recession. And Team Soft Landing is ignoring that. And right now, it looks like they're right. People on Wall Street are just all about Team Soft Landing. It's right. So I think that going from 0 to 500 basis points in a year is a smashing thing to do to an economy in a bad way, not a British smashing thing, an American smashing thing. That's bad. The regional bank excitement that we had a couple months ago, I think that's just an overture. I think the other shoe drops this year, before the end of this year. I think the Fed pivots. I think all kinds of good things happen for gold bugs. But until then, I think a rational speculator should expect headwinds in gold.
Okay, thank you. What do you think will cause the denouement of team soft landing and expose some of those distortions?
You know, we've got candidates. Commercial real estate is one that's often cited. The impending, doom of students with their student loan payments and those moratoriums coming off and their retrenchment and spending, that could be another. But I'm thinking about what happened with those regional banks, and it's not that no one saw it coming exactly, but kind of no one really did. It's after the fact, everybody's, oh yeah, that was obvious. And the gilt thing that happened last year in the UK, it should have been obvious, and maybe somebody out there was warning, but generally speaking, the markets didn't appreciate that risk. After the fact, oh yeah, that was obvious. I suspect that it might not be commercial real estate or the student loans or something that you and I will point at now, but afterwards, if we have this conversation in 5 months, and silver might be the who knows what, because silver has an increasingly industrial side, as I'm sure you know. And for most of this year, if you look at the charts, the daily charts, weekly charts, you'll see silver will shadow copper on the charts more closely than gold. And so if team soft landing appears to be right, we might actually get a bit of a tailwind for industrial metals, which could help copper and silver, even if it doesn't help gold. And that's not a prediction. I honestly don't know which way this will go. There are times where silver remembers it's a monetary metal, and it goes back to tracking gold. And I don't know how that will go this year. But despite Team Soft Landing's apparent victory right now over Team Tigre, I do think we're going to see undeniable signs of recession before the end of this year. And so buying copper or any industrial metal right now ahead of that, if I'm right, if you have a long-term outlook, maybe you come through the other side just fine. And eventually they go much higher. I actually believe that could happen. But I know that if I told people, go buy copper stocks now, and your copper stock goes down 50% before the end of this year, you'll be, with pitchforks and torches outside my gate saying, Lobo, why'd you say that, right? So I have to say that, my view is we're likely to see much better buying opportunities in the copper space. And I say that as a long-term copper bull. I really love copper going forward after the recession.
Though Lobo is currently bearish on gold and other safe haven metals, he says all kinds of good things will happen for gold bugs when the next shoe drops. One of the shoes that could drop, according to the analyst, is the commercial real estate crisis. According to the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg analysts, the brewing multi-billion-dollar commercial real estate crisis could dwarf the 2008 global financial crisis in intensity. Soft or hard landing notwithstanding, there is an important metal that Lobo says he's particularly focused on, and that's uranium. Let's get back to the interview as Lobo explains just why he's so bullish on uranium and how he's allocating his money right now.
Well, uranium price is up, but modestly. And below the recent peak. So it rushed up during the war outbreak to $64 or so, and then it corrected, the scare went away, no surprise. And then since then it's been kind of waffling sideways to slightly up, not a breakout that would get excitement. So this is one of those things where if you've been in uranium for a long time, you've seen this before, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a more recent investor in the uranium space and you look at the metals doing okay, but the stocks are doing terrible, what's wrong? This is broken. Again, you get capitulation, I think, for the wrong reasons. If you're underwater and you're disgruntled, you may not have patience for what I'm saying here. But it's just not the way markets work. Not only decades of experience, but just think about it. It makes no sense for the price of the metal to go up and the stocks to just be left behind. Now, we know on a day-to-day basis, if the market has a bad day, right, for something completely irrelevant, right, the AI, there's a scare or something, and the tech sector sells off. That will whack uranium stocks as well. And people will be like pulling their hair out. What's wrong? This has nothing to do with uranium. But stocks are stocks, and uranium stocks are stocks. The market's down, and it whacks the stocks. But that can only go on so long. And it tends to happen on a daily basis. If you look at the uranium stocks over even just this year, they don't entirely track the market. And if you look at them over, say, the last 5 years, if you take a step back from your recency bias, the uranium is up over the last 5 years. The uranium stocks are up over the last 5 years. If you were in early enough, you're actually a very happy camper here. It's only the people who have bought on the recent interest and are underwater that are saying, what's wrong? This is broken. And my message to you is nothing wrong. It's not broken. Be patient. May be wrong, but I'm putting my own money where my mouth is. Right now, I have more uranium stocks in my portfolio than I've ever had. The only stock on my shopping list right now is a uranium stock. And I think we talked about the recession in the industrial metals. I think uranium is more recession proof than just about anything else besides gold. Because it's baseload power. Like, you may decide not to take a trip to grandma's this week if you're tightening the budget at home and spend less money on gasoline. But you want the lights to turn on when you flip the switch. You want your hospitals to have energy no matter what. And that's what uranium nuclear power is good for. So I'm very bullish. And we've just done some new research here that we will be publishing for free on our website. New finding there regarding high prices curing high prices. And I have actually been near-term bullish on uranium for a while, but long-term kind of bearish because there's a lot of uranium out there that could come to market. But our latest research says not so fast, that it may take a lot more to balance the market than I have given it credit for. So I'll share that soon, but I'm just saying I'm actually more optimistic than I've been for a while. I don't do recommendations as such. I try to lead by example. So my portfolio in the Independent Speculator, it's not that I just may disclose from time to time, I might own some of these, whatever. This is what I'm doing with my own money. And so my whole shtick is I lead by example. And so right now, when I mentioned the only stock on my shopping list is a uranium stock, that's what I'm doing. That's how I see the markets at this very moment. And that's, if you want to call it a recommendation, you can, but I think of it as leading by example. And that's in the nearest term. Over the course of the year, I do think that Team Soft Landing will be proven wrong. At that point, I'm looking to go back into gold as well. Or I haven't sold, but I'm not buying now. But I'm looking to start buying then. And we'll see how silver does. And as soon as the recession really hits, I think then we'll have an opportunity to buy great copper stocks, maybe lithium too, maybe silver too, depending on which horse it rides. I'm eagerly looking forward to deploying into more sectors. But right now, I'm laser focused on uranium because I think it's the most resistant to the headwinds I see in the immediate future.
The chances of a recession are certainly high, regardless of the official narrative or their ability to hold off the dam until next year. Also, the longer they hold off the dam, the more intense the economic decline would be when it finally bursts through their machinations and plots. Do you agree that the next shoe to drop will be exceptionally bullish for gold and silver? Please drop your comments in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos. Thanks for watching.